Okay, so it's been a hot minute since I last did the video on the homeless. And since then, several things have happened. I got invited to conferences to understand the problem as a whole as well, and a few other bits. And I think it all became really overwhelming, the scale of the problem. It really did open my eyes, which I was not expecting in the slightest, not to that extent. It's also heartbreaking, the various avenues that bring into homelessness. It's not just rough sleeping. That was obviously my initial question. And where we went from there is quite surreal, really, for me to see all that. So I've been invited today to a place called Night Stop, an organisation that looks after the younger element of homelessness in all aspects, really. And that's what we're going to find out to see what they do. There are so many questions this has opened up, and it is building into something to put something out on all of the channels. Yeah, I'm really amazed by this. So let's go and have a chat with Night Stop and see what's happening there. Judith, I want to thank you for inviting me along to talk about what you do, because after looking at my previous video and then being inundated with information, I realised that it's so much bigger than rough sleepers, which is what I was originally looking at. And one of the main actual really big areas of homelessness is young people, 16 to 22, is it? Is that the
16 to 25 is our core age, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, that was mind-blowing to me. And one of the things I think you originally said was young people can be sofa surfing for 3 months before they get any help at all. And that was a real eye-opener when I looked into that, and I find that in this day and age really difficult to understand. And since then I've actually, it sounds really weird because it was only a few weeks ago, I've heard of cases like that through friends and through my daughters as well, people they've seen. And I find that amazing that it's still happening.
Always, isn't it?
Best way, isn't it? So I wanted you to they want to join in, they like this.
It's always interesting around here.
It's always good, I wanted to, A, understand what you did and what you do, and also what people can look for to understand that this is happening and how to point them to help, because I think that's the key thing. I never knew about it and I never knew what to look for, and I think that's important for people to understand, and then what to do about it as well.
Yeah, so I think part of it, Terry, is probably just being curious about things that you maybe think have gone on for a long time. So to give you an example, you referenced sofa surfing. Quite a lot of the young people who come to us will have had a period of time sofa surfing. Nobody usually expects to be homeless at the point they leave home. Quite often they leave in desperation, frustration, there's been a conflict, huge argument, so they'll go looking for a place to stay. Perhaps the conflict isn't resolved, they feel they can't go home, pride gets in the way, a whole range of reasons. And the stay on somebody's sofa maybe drags on from days to weeks to months sometimes. It's at the point when they run out of sofas that they suddenly realise that actually there is something going on here. They are at this point in time without a secure home. And it could be then that they'll go to the council. They might Google homelessness, they might come across our website. Maybe they'll have a friend who's been on Night Stop. They might know somebody who's been in the local foyer and get an intro to us through them. On an individual basis, you asked what people can do, what they can be aware of. It could be if you have children in the age bracket we help, 16, early 20s, maybe one of them has mentioned a friend who stayed on somebody's floor, somebody's sofa for a long period of time, doesn't appear to be looking after themselves particularly well, maybe not eating well, wearing the same clothes for a long period of time. Any of those could well be signs that perhaps a young person hasn't got a secure home at that point in time.
Yeah. And I suppose that from my point of view, I look at it from the parents' point of view, that I'd like to know that to help out someone else, really. But you've also got it from the friend's point of view, because they just see it as a friend just stopping over and it's not really a big deal sort of thing.
Absolutely, and that's okay for the short period of time. It's when that period of time gets longer and suddenly finances are involved. So for example, if the young person doesn't have any income, if they're at college or they're not working, chances are parents could have been claiming child benefit.
Yeah.
They won't be in receipt of anything if they're staying with friends. They won't be in receipt of personal benefits. Somebody's got to feed them, clothe them. So often that kind of precipitates somebody leaving their temporary sofa, temporary place to stay. And it could be at that time somebody's looking to find out how can I help this young person. So again, they could go to the council, they could get in touch with us. We've got a support team who can give advice really on what the next steps are for a young person who at that period of time is homeless.
The one thing I really liked with what you said you did was almost someone there to help support them, because there's normally a reason why something's happened.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of getting to the root cause of that and trying to help rather than just finding a solution every single time.
That's exactly it, Terry. So it could well be that a relationship breakdown, and that accounts for between 70 and 80% of young people becoming homeless. So maybe if that relationship that's broken down is with their parents or carers, they could look at our mediation service. That's proved to be really effective at helping young people and their parents, carers understand what's gone wrong, give them tips and tools to repair the conflict, to look at how they manage their anger, almost to kind of put a framework in place to prevent that happening again. So that's something that could be really helpful for them.
I still find it difficult because it's still not advertised much, because no one wants to talk about it. And I found that originally when I was looking into it, no matter what aspect of homelessness you talk about, actually no one wants to admit it, no one wants to talk about it, they just want to live in their bubble. And I was guilty of that, very much so, in all fairness. And I find that so hard when young people are concerned, because they're so vulnerable.
They are, yeah, they are really, really vulnerable, and that's one of the scary things. And what we're starting to find now is an increasing number of young people coming to us who've been subject to some form of exploitation. That could be exploitation for financial gain, it could be exploitation, carry out a certain number of tasks. County line, sadly, is rearing its ugly head locally, and we've had some of our young people who had brushes with the whole kind of subject of county lines. So they are very vulnerable, and we think that's why it's so important that somebody flags up the fact that this young person doesn't have a permanent roof over their head, because what our team can do then is they can step in and make sure things like finances are in place, they've got the relevant ID they might need if they're going to claim benefits. If they're at college, if they're perhaps struggling with their mental health, we can make sure they've got doctor's appointments in place, that the college are aware if there's things going on.
In terms of, from a parent's point of view, if you see one of your child's friends that's in that situation, how's best for us to take that to the next level? Because that child's never going to want to admit there's a problem or do anything.
No. I think check in gently, check in and be curious. Just ask, how they are, what they're doing, maybe even how long have they been staying there, and if you can gently try and find out why they're staying where they are. Where was home before you came here? Who do you normally live with? What's happened there? So it's difficult, I understand, to get the fine line between being intrusive but actually just kind of checking in to make sure they're okay.
In terms of the bits I've just gone through, is there anything you feel I've probably missed that's worth?
I think for young people, it's just to stress that if they come here, they don't have to be homeless. They can just come and get advice on their housing situation. Nobody's going to judge them. It's very relaxed. It's very laid back. It's completely confidential. We don't hold data. We don't get in touch with parents or school or anybody. So it's just a safe space if they want to check in on their housing situation. And if they do feel perhaps they're struggling or they need a bit of help, then it's a safe space to come and get that help.
You've arranged for us to talk to someone who's been through all of this and has come out the other side, so that we can hear it firsthand about their experiences, because it's very easy for us to talk about stuff. It's a different kettle of fish when you're in it, and I want that reassurance for people of what's going to happen when they go down this road. It's not that scary, but it's different when you're in it thinking it's the end of the world and taking it to that next level, really, or you're in denial at the end of the day. So I want to thank you for organising that, and we'll have a little chat now with them and take that to get their perspective on it onto that. So thank you for that. we're here with Crystal. She's agreed to come along and talk to us as someone who's been through and used the services of Night Stop before, because I think it's important that we hear from people that have been in the situation and get their words of wisdom, because it's far more important than anyone else's. They've had the real experience. They know what it's there. So thank you, Crystal, for coming along today.
No problem.
Which is what I want to ask you, really, because you've been through their system. It's why didn't you feel that you could go and get help? Did you not know about it? Did you not think it was an issue?
I didn't know that Night Stop was here. So when I was rough sleeping, and then I picked up the pride to go and ask my nan if I could stop on her sofa. Yeah. She's got a one-bedroom flat, so I had to sleep on her sofa with my twin brother. So we were both being put through Night Stop at the same time.
Okay.
My brother was in it first.
Yeah.
But then he found accommodation somewhere else.
Okay.
So when I was sleeping on my nan's sofa, I found out through Night Stop. I found out about Night Stop through the hub.
Okay.
Because the woman that was working there was working with my brother.
Right.
So then obviously she referred me.
And you wouldn't have found out about it, I take it, if it wasn't for your brother and that. Did you ever wish there was something or somewhere you could have gone, or did it not even cross your mind at that point?
I didn't even know that there were places out there, to be honest, because I never thought I would be homeless. So I thought I'd never have to look into it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Did you class yourself as homeless?
For a bit, yeah, because I was on the streets until I plucked up the pride to go and speak to my nan.
Okay.
So it's just, if you haven't got family there to help you get off the streets, then you're going to be there for a long, long time.
Okay, so you actually were you rough sleeping, effectively, or?
I didn't really sleep, to be honest, because I had anxiety about going to sleep and waking up and being robbed or beaten or something. So I was just like sitting on the stairs in town with like this little charger in the wall to charge my phone. And it was freezing, it was like just coming winter. Yeah. So I was like walking around Tesco for a few hours.
Right.
Just to try and keep myself warm.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Wow. That's, as a parent, I find that really hard to hear and to understand as someone so young gets put in that situation and can't necessarily turn to someone else. It's amazing that you plucked up the courage to go and speak to your nan and sort that out, really.
Yeah, so I was raised with my nan, so she always taught me to like be proud and like, she said always come to me if you need anything. But so I moved back with my mum and things were all right, but she kicked me out. Okay. So I didn't speak to my nan for quite a while because of my mum. So I was like, hi Nan, I know I haven't spoken to you like 7 years, but can I sleep on your sofa, please?
Oh, that's really nice though that you did have that in the end, some family connection that you could go to do that. I suppose not everyone's got that.
No, not everyone's got that, no. Like if I see one of my friends in town, like I'd chill with them for a bit and then I'd buy me a drink, but I didn't tell them I was homeless.
I can understand how the pride thing would get into that. I mean, I would certainly feel it within the friendship group that I wouldn't want to tell anyone anything. And I think that's an issue from everything mental health all the way through, that no one wants to, although we all say it's good to talk and to do stuff, no one wants to actually
No, it's not easy to talk, is it, sometimes?
No, so I can imagine how that was really difficult for you. Did you find it easy to talk to Night Stop when you realised that's what you needed to do and you'd had that introduction? Because they were a third party, it was a bit more confidential.
Yeah, I found it easy because the woman that I was placed with knew my nan. So that kind of set my anxiety a bit lower about everything. Yeah. But they were like genuinely really nice to me. Like they made me drinks, you know, helped me with food, money, whatever I needed.
If you could give, it's putting you on the spot here now, sorry. I was going to say, if you could give a piece of advice to someone who is homeless that might be watching this, and pride's going to be a really big thing into this, I would have thought.
Yeah, it is.
How would you convince someone who was in your situation years ago to make that leap of faith and trust someone?
Well, the way I did it is, like I said, I'm a pride person. So if you kind of like say to yourself, well, you're proud, but you can't be proud of what you've got at the minute. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to go find help, because then that way you'll have even more pride about what you're doing than when you were homeless.
Yeah.
So then you can say, well, I was homeless, but I've got this now. And that boosted my pride up a bit more.
I think you've probably hit it on the head with the pride thing, because I'd feel that immensely.
It gets down.
Yeah. And that must be really difficult. Have you had help with getting over that and taking forward as well?
Yeah, I had help with all of that, even after I left my placement. When I moved on, I still had Night Stop helping me with food, and I always had somewhere to go if I needed someone to talk to. So really nice. That's why I'm still here now, like giving a bit back.
Nice. Friends for life.
Literally.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. You know, everything comes around in circles, really, and I think it's good if you give a little back and help people along the way as well. People your age that see other friends sofa surfing all the time, who those people go, oh, no, it's fine, I'm just stopping at a friend's, and they keep stopping around. How would you convince them to go and talk to someone like Night Stop to get out and break that cycle? I think people listen to people that have been in that situation more than they would listen to anyone else.
Yeah, I didn't really listen to my nan about it, because I was like, oh, you're my nan, you tell me what to do anyway. Like, well, I don't want to go do what you tell me to do. But if you listen to someone else who's been through it, and you see them and they're like happy, like in the home, well, you're going to do what they've done, because you want that as well.
That's really important. Yeah, I think that's a really key message there. Thank you, Chris, for coming along and telling us all about your journey. And I'm so proud of what you've accomplished and how you've come out the other side, and you're full of smiles. You might just sit there a bit nervous at the moment, but you are full of smiles, and it's really nice to see. But thank you for sharing your emotional journey, because it is emotional at the end of the day. And you've been amazingly brave to come here and tell us this so that we can try and help other people in a similar situation. If I can help one
more person, then...
No, really good. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So Judith, I want to thank you for your time today and giving us that insight into your world and your involvement in this, which I think is amazing that there's somewhere locally that can cater for that age bracket, because it's such an informative part of the life at that age. To have anything that happens that's untoward at that time of life is just life-changing. But having people there to help them and to guide them, I think is amazing. And the fact that you do that, it's not just a one time, one visit, it's you keep them together and you follow through and make sure that they get the help that they need, even if it's something that you can't provide directly, and so you go and organise that to make sure that they're looked after, really. So I want to thank you for your time today, for going through that and organising this conversation. We'll put the contact details at the end of this. So if you know of anyone that needs this help, or you yourself are in need of this help, the details are there. Reach out. It's just a phone call away, or drop in at the drop-in centre, and I think that'll be your first point of call.